All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and just get into it, and when people come in, they come in. Um, so I want to talk a little bit in the book of Acts today, chapter 3. We're just going to be reading verses 1 through 10. And Ashley is making weird faces as she turns down everything. So we're going to be in the book of Acts, verses 1 through 10. I will admit I did kind of get this message a little bit from a pastor we watched, I want to say about a week ago. So we will, I'm going to make sure I share the video after this. I would definitely recommend watching it. It's a really good video. But I kind of borrowed the story that they use, and I feel like I have a couple different points, but we'll get into it. I want to talk today about being a point of contact. And what a point of contact is let me get my notes out because I wrote down the definition. A person or a department serving as a coordinator or focal point of information. So it's how someone first comes into contact with that information. And it can be any type of information. It could be, school, work, any type of training information that you come in with. There's always that person training you, and that would be kind of like your point of contact. If normally the first people you see at a restaurant or something, or how they act, determines your overall enjoyment of being at the restaurant or being at the place that you're at. Whoever you have to deal with, that's your point of contact. Even though they may be the worst person there, we judge everything that the entire restaurant does based off of one person because that's who we deal with. And I kind of want to talk about that in the Christian aspect. But we're just going to go ahead and we're going to jump in here. And we're going to pick up, like I said, it's going to be Acts chapter 3, verses 1 through 10. I'm going to do the best I can to read. Like I said, my setup's a little bit different, but we'll get it here. It says, Now Peter and John went up together to the temple at the hour of prayer, the ninth hour. So around 3 p.m. And a certain man, lame from his mother's womb, was carried, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful. To ask for from those who entered the temple, to ask alms from those who entered the temple, who, seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, asked for alms, and fixing his eyes on them, with fixing his eyes on him with John, Peter said, "Look at us." So he gave them his attention, expecting to receive something from them. Then Peter said, "Silver and gold I do not have, but what I do have I give you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk." We got 3 more verses, but I'm just going to tell everybody, we've been kind of scrambling the last 45 minutes trying to get this thing working tonight, so I may be a little bit more off than normal. So, back in verse 7, and he took him by the right hand and lifted him up, and immediately his feet and ankle bones received strength. So he, leaping up, stood and walked and entered the temple with them, walking, leaping, and praising God. And all the people saw him walking and praising God. Then they knew that it was he who sat begging at alms at the beautiful gate of the temple, and they were filled with wonder and amazement at what had happened to him. So we watched the pastor, I want to say it was Wednesday night or Sunday before. It was somewhere in there. And he talked about this, and he wanted to talk about more of the feeling you are when you are stuck, and how people get stuck and they can't go on. Like this man who's lame, he can't literally move. He's literally stuck. But I want to talk a little bit more about there's a couple of key changes in the verses that I thought were a little odd in verse 4. In verse 3 and verse 5. So this man, he can't walk, he can't move, he can't do anything. But he's constantly taken to this gate outside of a temple to beg. I think the thing that really stuck out to me in verse 3, it says, he saw Peter and John, and then he asked them for alms. Now, in verse 5, when Peter says, "Look at us," in verse 4, in verse 5 it says the man gave him his attention. I thought it was a little odd that he saw them, he asked for the alms that he needed, but he also didn't give them his attention until they said something. And I want to go through, and I kind of want to compare this word to today. And my notes are all over the place on this one, so everybody just stick with me, okay? We're gonna try and compare everything. So the man, he's confined. He can't walk. He can't move. People have to pick him up and take him places. And he's limited to the amount of people he sees. The only people he really would see would be the people at the gate and the people who took him to the gate. So other than that, there's really no one else. He's quarantined in a way. Just like we're quarantined. And we're stuck at home. We can't get into the temple. We can't get into church. We're not allowed to be there. Some of us can't go back to work. Some of us, can't go out and do anything. Maybe you're older and you're trying to protect yourself and you don't literally go anywhere. But that's kind of where we're at. It's kind of the same way this man was at. I mean, he's left outside the gate, but he never goes in. And he's only moved when other people move him. So if no one else moved him, he would stay where he was at. And that's kind of where we're at nowadays. I mean, every day it seems like something else is closing and we can't go there. So I want to talk about the man, but I also want to talk about Peter and John. And I want to talk about how this virus, this quarantine, has affected the church. Because we're supposed to be point of contacts. And I think that this quarantine, this everything that's just happening nowadays where we can't go and see people is a struggle for a lot of us, but it's also pushing people out of their comfort zones. It's making the church better even though we're not meeting as a group. We're stuck. We can't go anywhere. We can't see our church members. We're limited in all aspects. But we have a rare opportunity to adapt and a rare opportunity to make a change for something that's been around for years. I think everyone can say that if you haven't watched a live stream like this or one that the pastor's doing on Sunday or anything like that before this coronavirus happens, you've probably seen plenty of them now. Even smaller churches. Our church isn't big, but Ross has been doing live streams every Sunday and Wednesday night. Well, Sunday morning and Wednesday night. And there's plenty of other churches doing the same thing. And while we may not be comfortable, we're being pushed out of our comfort zone to reach an entire generation that's on social media. That's on the Facebooks, it's on the Instagrams, it's on Snapchats, it's on all of these things. And us doing our live streams and being seen in social media is more than we've ever done before. I mean, maybe there's been a few posts, but not many churches do a live stream of their church service or do videos or anything to reach people on social media. I mean, the bigger churches do, yeah, but they have the resources for that. And so I want to talk about the layman being maybe you, maybe me, maybe anybody who's on Facebook. I'm going to put some of my IT stuff in here. A user, okay? Someone who uses Facebook, someone who uses any type of social media that they may use. And I want to talk about the people passing by being posts. They're posts of everything you see on Facebook. Maybe posts about people's lives, maybe just anything you would see on a social media news feed. And Peter and John, I want to talk about them being the church because that's what they are. And this is the first miracle of the church. This is them adapting to the situation Jesus has left them in and them taking over. And it's kind of the same way as the coronavirus is doing to us. I think church services have been the same. I'm going to keep looking at you because actually the only person here. But church services have always been the same. They've always been, you go on Sunday, you go on Wednesday night, maybe you go on Sunday night or Saturday night or something. 2 or 3 days a week you're going to church, or maybe you just go on Sundays. You get what I'm saying. But you go to this place that kind of looks similar to most churches. You have an altar, you have a pulpit, maybe you have drums, you have some type of instruments up there, a couple microphones, and pews, and people go in there and sit. And we don't have that now. We've been cut off from the resources that we are so accustomed to in our church and what we think defines a church. And in this time, we're being pushed out of our comfort zone to reach a world that has been changing the entire time. Churches now, we may play some different music and we may talk about some different subjects, but church overall has been kind of the same. It's always been a building. That people go, the church goes and they meet in the building. They do their praise and worship. They do their singing. They do their praying. They do their preaching, and then they leave. But we have an opportunity now to prove that we are the church, and not to get so caught up in the building that we can't go and see, but to be more caught up in the people that we can't be around either. But we're still on social media. We can still reach people, and social media is used way more. You're going to reach way more people than you normally do any other time if you go on social media. I mean, if you go look at views for just any video, any live stream, even the few that Pastor Ross has done over the last couple of weeks, there's probably been more views and more people tuning into that than we had at our normal church services, and we're adapting to it. And we have to be the point of contact. We have to be the point at which people come and receive information about Christ. Normally, before quarantine, we would have to do that outside of the church. We would have to, in our workplaces, in any place that we went, we would have to shine a light. But we have to do that on social media too. We have to be there for the people who still need us. We have to offer hope, like Peter and John do. The man's asking for alms, he's asking for money, but they don't have that. In the same way as any time disaster strikes, people come to the church looking for answers. And I don't think any of us have the answers. But what we do have is hope, because we know who the answer is. We know that all things work together for good, even when it doesn't make sense, even when we can't understand God. I think this virus is making good changes everywhere, and is making bad things happen everywhere too. I think our church, in any church, being pushed outside of its comfort zone and still trying to reach the people and still trying to come together and be that light of hope when we don't have any hope, is a good thing. And maybe that's the blessing that God wants us to see. Then when I'm saying that we offer hope, I mean, maybe it's a post. Maybe it's a live stream. Maybe you get on a live stream, you could black the camera out. I don't know if any of y'all have ever done a live stream. You can black the camera out and just play some music. Whatever you need. Whatever anybody could need. I think music lifts people up. I think talking me talking like I know something lifts people up sometimes. I think that there's a lot of things that we can do as a church to reach so many people on social media who we may never see again in our lives. You never know who's going to stumble upon a video, or who's going to stumble upon a live stream. And we have an outlet. We have an outlet to be involved in social media because we have no other option. Sometimes it would be easier to just not do it because we had the regular option of church. We don't need to reach out on social media because we have regular church. Just come on down to the little white building where we all come on Sundays and Wednesdays to worship God. Just come and join us then. But now we don't have that. We can't tell people to come to the building because we're not allowed to go to the building. But we have this outlet to reach people. And I think we can all do better at it. I think we can all reach out to people. Right now, people aren't going to see your light. People aren't going to see the light in our lives. They're going to have to see it through our posts. They're going to have to see it through our videos. We're not going to go and shake somebody's hand and introduce them and invite them to come to church or anything like that. You gotta reach out. There's plenty of people on your Facebook, and there's plenty of people on Facebook who are lost. There's plenty of people on Facebook who need encouragement. There's plenty of people still going through the same struggles and everything that they go through. Maybe it's starting a prayer chain. Maybe it's doing one of these live streams. Maybe it's just sending comments or sending messages to people to encourage them. But whatever it is, we have the outlet to do it, and we're being pushed to do it. And I don't think when this COVID-19 stuff stops and when God puts an end to it that we need to stop that. It's something that it's like a training. It's kind of more like God, before COVID-19, gave you an option to do it, but now it's kind of throwing you out to the wolves and you got to figure it out because you can't go where you want to go. You can't go back to the church. You have to do it on a live stream format. You have to do something because people want you to do something. I think there's plenty of people tuning in to live streams and church services because they fill up the social media pages and news feeds on Sunday mornings who wouldn't normally tune into them because everyone's looking for an answer of when this is going to stop, when this is going to end. And while we don't have that answer, we do have hope. We don't have money, but we do have healing. And it's time to grab their attention. See, people are asking for answers, but it's up to us to say, look at us. It's up to us to grab their attention and say that we don't have the answer, but we do have a God who loves us, and we do have a God where all things work out for good, not for bad, and not all good things. Good and bad things all work together. It may take some time, but it's going to happen. It's going to be there. The other thing I want to talk about is what I'm saying doing posts. We need to spread hope and not fear. COVID-19 is an awful thing. Awful. But our God is more powerful than that. He can stop it if he wants to. And we don't need to threaten people. I've seen so many posts where people saying, if you think this is bad, just wait until the rapture happens. And yeah, that's true. But we need to inspire hope and not fear. We don't need to tell people that, hey, if you think this is bad, just wait. It gets worse. No, that's not what they need to hear. We need to hear, hey, even though it's bad right now, things still get better. It may not be the same day and the same routine that you had before, but nonetheless, it's still going to be good. We just have to find new ways of happiness. If you're one of those people who gets joy by going out and talking to people and meeting new people, guess what? You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on Instagram. You can do it on any of those things. But you have to find a new way we have to adapt to our situations. We have to adapt. The church has to adapt, but people have to adapt. And we have to realize that if we want to be happy, we got to adapt to the situation that we're stuck in. We can't help what COVID-19 has done, but we can help how we respond to it. And we can help by inspiring fear and not trying to threaten people into coming to Jesus. That's not how Jesus works. We we inspire hope and salvation as good things, joyous things. Not something that fear deals with. You can talk about hell all you want to, but if your endpoint is trying to scare people into Christ, we're not doing it right. We need to be lights. We need to be lights of hope in the darkness right now. And we just need to inspire people. I mean, we have all of the tools to do it. Maybe some of us will have to learn, but everyone can do this. Everyone can do a live stream. Everyone can play some music. Everyone can do whatever they set their mind to. We have the time to do it. I mean, there's a lot of people who aren't working. There's a lot of people who have to work from home. I have to work from home. Ashley doesn't, but she's going to be off for at least a week next week. I mean, everyone's situations are different, but everyone's slowly kind of getting to the point that they have time to do something. They have time to spread God's word. And you don't have to be a preacher. You don't have to be a teacher. You don't have to be a singer or, play music or whatever. Just do whatever you do. Be your own light. And I mean, that's really all I got today. It was kind of more of a rant, I felt like, than a word. But it's all I could think about is being a point of contact and grabbing the attention of everyone that we can affect right now. I think this is a time that God has chosen the church to grow, because when tragedy strikes, everyone looks to the church, and we need to be that light that they need.